Do you enjoy Chinese horror stories? Then you are in the right place. Today, I want to talk about the cultivation path of the Yellow Weasel. Have you ever wondered why a weasel would stop a human being and ask one question? Do I look human to you? It is not asking for praise. It is not asking for a joke. What it wants is the breath behind a living person's words. When old people talked about the yellow weasel, they often said one thing: do not provoke it. But here is the question. Why would a small animal that sneaks into chicken coops and steals eggs be feared as something so uncanny? How does it become a spirit? Why does it learn to walk like a person? And why must it stop a living human being to ask for an answer? Tonight, Grandpa Chen will not tell a single ghost encounter. Instead, we will explain one thing clearly. In Chinese folklore, how does an ordinary weasel become the yellow weasel spirit? To understand the yellow weasel, we first need to know that it is different from the fox spirit. Foxes appeared very early in Chinese strange tales, and they appear often. In the classic of Mountains and Seas, there is the nine-tailed fox. In Strange Tales from a Chinese Studio, there are fox women. After long cultivation, it may take the form of a woman. It may enter a human household. It may repay kindness, or it may bring harm. But the yellow weasel is different. It does not have the beautiful legendary image of the fox. It is small, its life is short, its smell is strong, and its movements are secretive. When people see it in the daytime, they usually think of chicken coops, stolen eggs, and those nervous little eyes that always seem to be hiding something. That is why, in folk belief, the weasel's cultivation is more urgent. It does not slowly cultivate like a fox. It looks for shortcuts. The first gate is called awakening the mind. This means changing from an ordinary wild animal into something that knows it is cultivating. According to old folk belief, yellow weasels like to burrow near graves. Not because graves are warm, not because there is always food there, but because people believed that graves still held something left behind by human beings. After a person dies, the breath is gone, the voice is gone, but old people believed that in the bones, the burial clothes, and the grave soil, a faint trace of human energy could still remain. Of course, this is not a scientific explanation in the modern sense. It is part of the old folk logic used to explain how spirits and strange creatures come into being. If a weasel stays in such a place year after year, lying close to that lingering human energy day and night, its mind is said to slowly open. That is the first step toward becoming something uncanny. From that day on, it no longer searches only for food. It begins to watch people, to remember people, to learn from people. The second gate is learning the human form. In old writings and folk stories about the yellow weasel, there is a common idea. It steals human clothing and imitates human steps. This means it may steal old clothes, torn hats, or worn-out shoes, not because it can truly wear them, but because it wants to carry the scent of human beings. More importantly, it begins to imitate the shape and behavior of people. At night, some people claimed to have seen a weasel standing at the base of a wall. Its two hind legs held up its body, Its front paws hung before its chest. It moved one step at a time, slowly, awkwardly, like a hunched old man. Others said the Yellow Weasel would crouch outside a window, watching how people sat, how they ate, how they sighed, and how they called their children home. People thought they were simply living their daily lives, but outside the window, something was learning how to live like them. This is one of the most unsettling parts of Yellow Weasel folklore. It does not suddenly become human. It learns, little by little, how to resemble one. Until one night, when you see it in the dark, you hesitate for a moment, and one thought rises in your mind. Why does that thing look a little like a person? The third gate is learning human speech. Learning the human form is not enough. To ask for recognition, it must be able to speak. There is also an old folk saying that animals have a barrier bone in their throat. This bone prevents them from speaking human words. A beast can cry out, it can wail, it can roar, but it cannot speak complete sentences like a human being. Of course, this too belongs to old folklore. But in stories of the Yellow Weasel, it explains one thing: why the weasel hides in abandoned houses and ruined temples, practicing human voices again and again. It listens to old people coughing. It listens to children crying. It listens to women calling people to dinner. It listens to men knocking at doors in the middle of the night. Then, it imitates them. At first, the voice must sound strange, like a child, but also like an old person, like a human voice, but not quite human. Someone passing an empty old house at midnight might hear a child's voice from inside. Mother. But that house had been abandoned for more than 10 years. Someone else might hear an old woman coughing inside a ruined temple. The coughing lasts all night. But the next morning, when people go inside, there is no old woman there. Only a line of tiny paw prints beneath the statue. This step is not so it can talk with people. It only needs to learn one sentence. One sentence that can make a human being answer. The fourth gate is bewildering the eyes. A Yellow Weasel will not ask for recognition too easily, because the ritual is dangerous for it too. If you say it looks human, it borrows your words and takes one step forward. But if you say it does not look human, years of cultivation may be ruined. So a weasel with real cultivation does not ask just anyone. First, it must confuse the person. In folk language, this is called a trick of the eyes. A weasel already has a strong smell. Over time, many stories connected that smell with confusion and illusion. Old people said that when someone smelled that sharp animal odor on a night road, the mind could become cloudy, and the eyes would no longer see clearly. At that moment, grass may look like a human shadow, branches may look like hands, and a weasel standing upright may look like a little old man. This is the moment it waits for. It waits until you are afraid, until you are confused, until you can no longer tell whether the thing in front of you is a beast or a person. Only then does it open its mouth and ask, "Do I look human to you?" That question is the final gate of its entire path. Why must it ask a living person? Because folk belief says that human words carry weight. A living person's mouth carries breath. A word spoken by a living person is not only a sound, it is recognition. It is witness. So the yellow weasel is not asking for praise. It is not asking for pity. And it is certainly not asking for a careless joke. It wants to borrow the breath of a living person to press down the beast inside itself. It wants to change from something that merely resembles a human into something recognized by a human. This is called Tao Feng in Chinese folklore. It means asking a human being for recognition. That is why old people warned, if you meet something strange at night and it asks, "What do I look like? Do I look human to you? Do you recognize me?" Do not answer too quickly, because you may think you are only speaking, but the thing in front of you may be waiting for you to open a door. Not the door of your house, a door you cannot see. So after the weasel succeeds, does it truly become an immortal? That depends on how the story is told. In folk stories, people often speak of transformation, repayment of kindness, and ascension. But the path of the yellow weasel is different. It walks the path of humanity. And because it borrows human breath, it also carries human karma. That is why folk belief later developed the idea of household guardian spirits. In some old customs of Northeast and North China, animal spirits such as foxes, weasels, snakes, and pythons were often connected to household worship and family protection. Some yellow weasels were believed to follow one family. Others were believed to guard a certain place, becoming a local earth spirit. It may not bring great wealth or high fortune. More often, people only hoped for peace, for nothing to go wrong. If you respect it, it remembers. If you owe it, it remembers. If you mock it, it remembers that even more. So if one day, after dark, you find yourself walking alone on a country road, and a yellow weasel suddenly stands up in front of you, without running, without making a sound, only raising its two front paws, bowing to you like an old man, and then asking in a thin, dry voice, "Do I look human to you?" Remember, do not laugh, do not curse at it, and do not answer too quickly. Some questions are not asking what you see. They are waiting for you to recognize what stands before you. And some forms of recognition, once spoken by a living mouth, can never be taken back. This is Grandpa Chen's Folk Horror Archive. Next time, we will open another strange tale from old China.